sorry. I had my legs up in the air still. They just covered me up with a blanket, and they wheeled me right out and brought me to the OR. They did the ultrasound again to see if, how he was positioned, and of course he was still breech, and so they decided, I was going to deliver him breech. But then his cord prolapsed, and they decided it was emergency C-section right there. There was just, at that point, it's just really dangerous, and so they decided it was C-section. And at that point, like, I was barely numb anymore. I was feeling everything, so I was just really scared, really nervous to feel them cut me. I was just terrified, and I was just a mess. I was just bawling and crying, and like, I just could not calm down. I was trying to, but I was just so scared that I just couldn't stay calm. So what they had to do was they had to put extra medication into my epidural, my line, because you have a line that's in your spine for it. They were pumping it up, just like constantly putting numbing in to numb my whole body up, and they just kept asking me, do you feel this? Is it, like, they were asking, doing the whole ice pack, feeling it, putting it on my parts of my body to see if I feel it, and I was still feeling it. I have a really high tolerance for, like, pain medications, and there's always been this, like, I've always had this, so I knew this was kind of be an issue, so that made me even more nervous. And they just kept pumping it, and they gave me another drug, and I was just completely out of it. I was still there, but, like, I wasn't there. And I think with that made the experience even more terrifying. I was just so scared. I can't even explain, like, the way I was feeling, the things I was seeing. It was something I had never experienced before, and it was pretty terrifying. Like, it's kind of like, you don't know if, let's say, like, you honestly think that you're possibly dying, and like, you're like, is this what it's like? Like, is this it? Like, you just don't understand what you're, like, it's just so hard to explain, but it was just really terrifying, and I was just completely gone. And I remember at one point I started hearing a baby crying, and first of all, I felt the tugging of them, like, opening me up and pulling the baby out. Like, I felt everything, and it was just, it just doesn't feel right. And then I started hearing a baby cry, and I started, like, coming back a little bit, and I was just, like, looking for the baby. And I remember I was talking to my fiance, but when I was speaking, I didn't realize, like, what I was saying. It was just out of, like, an out of body experience. Like, it's very hard to explain that whole situation. But I remember my fiance talking to me, and he kept saying my name, and I finally, like, looked over at him, and I was just trying to focus in on his face, and, like, I could barely see him. And then finally, like, everything came together, and I saw him, and I was just, like, in that moment, I was just, like, so glad that it was him. Like, I could see him, and I knew that, okay, like, I'm back, I'm there, I'm okay. And I was asking about the baby, if he was okay, if everything was okay, and they put my baby right in front of me after, and I remember seeing him, and I was focused right in on his face, and, I was there, so I'm really grateful for that I was able to remember those moments. because we weren't able to get any footage of that. We didn't get any photos or video because it was such a like we got rushed in really quickly. It was an emergency, so everything was just really fast paced, and we didn't have any time for any pictures at that moment. But my photographer waited to get photos of the babies together afterwards. Like my whole family didn't even know what was happening. My mom, my dad, my step parents, my grandparents, like my siblings, everybody, they didn't know what was happening at that point because they just knew we were just going to the OR to deliver a baby breech. Like that's all they knew. So they were all worried because it had been over an hour of them waiting before they were told anything. And they finally found out, you know, it was an emergency C-section, and, you know, we were healthy and perfect and fine, and everything was okay. It was just a very scary experience. It was just traumatic. It's hard to explain something like that unless you go through it. I wouldn't wish a C-section on anybody if you wouldn't have to have one. It's just terrifying. Like, for people saying that a C-section is an easy way out, it definitely is not. It is not at all. It is just, it's so much more scary, and it's so much more painful. The healing process is just crazy. Like, you're just in so much pain. It's unreal. And at that point, they wheeled me out, but I was so out of it. I couldn't go back to my room right away. I wasn't able to see my babies together. I wasn't able to see my family to, like, you know, show them I was okay. Like, I was literally numb from up here down, because they put so much medication in. It took a while for it to actually set in, and finally when it did, like, I was just, like, practically paralyzed, and I couldn't move anything, and, I had to wait in a room by myself until I was able to feel a nice pack on my upper body, and that it was just at my legs at that point, and then I was able to go into my own room. But just from that, it was terrifying. Like, I was by myself. I didn't have anybody with me. I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to see my babies. Like, I wanted to hold them. But I just had gone through one of the most, like, scariest things ever. I just wanted to be with my family. And it was finally, I think, at that point, so I had my first baby. It was just past 3 when I had him. And it was past 6 p.m. when I finally got into my room and I was able to see my family and see my babies and everything. And I was just a wreck. I'm like, when I cry, I get very swollen and very red, and I was just a complete mess. I could barely open my eyes. I was just in so much pain. I was so upset. I hated the fact that I had got a C-section because I knew it was going to be hard. I have 2 other kids, so I knew, like, having this was just going to be so much harder to heal and to get things done. Like, it was so much going through my mind. And the fact that it wasn't just a normal C-section where people are numb and they're cut open, babies out, and you're good, like, and then you go back to your room with your babies. Like, I had to go into a different room away from everybody because my whole body was still numb. And I was completely out of it, so I was not able to go back to see my babies right away. So that was just on its own right there. It was just traumatic. It was not as planned. It wasn't what we wanted, but in the end, I was okay. Babies were okay. I was able to go into my room and be with everybody. Everyone was there waiting for me. And then we revealed our babies' names to everybody. And so we had Levi and Aries. Levi was born first, and he was 5 pounds, 13 ounces. and Aries was born second. He was 7 pounds or sorry, 7 pounds, that's what he was later. He was 6 pounds, 7 ounces. So there was a bit of a weight difference, but not too much of a weight difference. But yeah, and we held them and just loved them and had our whole family there, and it was, you know, good after that. It was just, it took a little bit of time for me to, you know, process what had just happened and to realize, okay, you know, everything's okay. So there's no need to be upset anymore. Like, everybody was okay, and that's all that mattered, you know. But yeah, so that is my labor and delivery of my twins, the experience and everything. I do have part of a labor and delivery video of the first baby that was born. And after that, we didn't get anything except for a few pictures from our photographer. Thankfully, she was, you know, there. She stuck around and she stayed and waited, and I'm really grateful for that too. But yeah, I will be posting more videos later on. I'm gonna see what I could do for my labor and delivery video, the real footage, but so far I'll have this up, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching and subscribing and being part of this whole process. You guys are awesome, always saying great things, like you know, how beautiful my family is, and always just concerned for me throughout my pregnancy and hoping the best for me, and I really, really appreciate that. It means a lot, and I'm glad to post videos for you guys. So yeah, thank you for watching, and subscribe and like these videos, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.